everybody. Ready for the next course. This one's going to be focusing on cleaning up data sets. And a lot of this is going to be some quick tips, really, like how to maneuver around Excel, but things to think about when you're cleaning up lists. So this is a list that I got brand new. So it might take a while to get through, but it's brand new. I got it from a website. There are tons of ways of building a list. You can, look for things in your local area. You can write down email addresses. You can, do different searches and stuff like that. Like, it really becomes a skill on your capability of creating lists. This is why we offer a list of, a starting point for investors. But if you're doing it on your own, I want to make sure you don't fall into some of these bigger issues when you're, taking somebody else's list, or even when you're starting to build a list yourself. So here's some tips on how to use Excel. Google Sheets works almost the same way, but you want to make sure that your list is incredibly clean before you get started. So let's take a look at how we would clean this list up, right? So the first thing to look at is headers. When we import a list into any of these automated outreach tools, many times you can use the header name. So you can see this one says company, this one says branch, this says, program and phase. They have these little headlines or titles. And when you upload your list, many times it'll ask you if that is not a common title, you can actually add it to be used in your email. So for example, like if you want to call out what phase of this is a SBIR award, you can say, hey, congratulations on your phase 1 SBIR. And these would be two different groups, or maybe like variables or characters. I'm not sure what they're called in Woodpecker, but every tool for the most part that's any decent can use these types of headlines. And so you have to be sure or aware of what you want, right? So obviously we would want the company name. So maybe we don't want these. And in this case, if you right click and press D, you can delete a whole column, or you can click on delete. So for what I'm doing, I just want to boil this down to the very basics. I want company, a person's name, and in an email address. And so we're going to come through here. We're going to delete all of these. Again, I've decided that I don't need them. You might want them. I don't know. It's up to you. You can see we have two different addresses. So let's keep that for now. That makes sense. We're going to look for the contact. So we have a contact name here. So let's keep that. We can delete this one. Maybe we want their phone number. I don't know. I'm doing an email campaign, but let's keep it in case we ever decide to cold call. And then let's get rid of pretty much everything else because we have what we need for this outreach. So we'll just go from here. We'll go all the way to the end here, and now we'll delete. So we've decided that for this campaign, all we really need is their company name, their address. This one has an address too. I'm going to delete that one. I'm not going to use these, but you can see like now we've got an okay list. Most people would stop right here. And this is where you're going to be better. This is why I'm putting this course together. The first thing that you want to do, and the tools will delete them themselves, but you want to make sure you remove duplicates. So right now we're on contact email, and we're going to remove duplicates by email. There's like, I don't even know, 800 or so in this list, 1,000 maybe. So we're going to go click on the column we want. We're going to go to data, and then we're going to go to, where is it at? Remove duplicates right here. And it'll say expand selection. And then we are going to uncheck all of these except for the contact email. And there might be better ways to do this, but this is the way I use because it works for me. So we're going to delete that. And now you can see it's removed 227 duplicates. What's great about this is that is a great starting point. Okay. Now, again, let's say someone's a little bit higher level, and this is where they would stop. It's not terrible, but what we look at here is now we look at company. if we're going to pull in the company, like, hey, so-and-so at, you know, investor.org or whatever, and it's all in capitals, right? That just feels weird. That's not a very good thing. It reads weird. Everybody knows that now you've got a list. If you include the Inc. or the LLC or the LP or whatever, that's just not good. So we're going to take this and we're going to move it to the very end, and you'll see why in a second. We're just making a copy. Okay, so Control C, Control V, or you can right click copy, right click paste. But what we're going to do, step one, is we're going to get rid of all of these capitals and make sure that things look proper. Okay, so we're going to go equal proper, and this works for Google Sheets and Excel. So it's going to be proper. It's going to be open parentheses or whatever that thing's called, and then closed, and then you make it. And now you can see, look, that looks like what somebody would normally write. Okay. And if you click on this spot right here, we get everything now is perfect. Okay. Well, it's perfect step one. Okay. So we're going to copy this list, Control C. We're going to go over the first one, and then we're going to click this one that says paste values. Okay. Then we can delete this. Now that just replaced what we had before. We haven't messed with our initial in case we need to go back to that, but we've at least made all these look pretty. All right, the next thing to look at is we want this to sound like a human actually typed and wrote it. And as I mentioned before, humans don't use ink like this, right? They definitely don't use this. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy these weird ones, and then we are going to do our Control F and then find replace, paste it, and then we're going to replace all. Okay, we've got rid of that. And now we're just going to go and look at this list and look at the bigger ones first. So now we see space Inc. with a period. We're going to do that one, replace all. Okay, now we're going to delete the period, replace all. And we're going to leave it there. That should be pretty good for that one. Now let's look at some of the LLC ones. So we have like comma, space, LLC, and we'll just throw in a period just in case. We'll go replace all, only one, that's good. Replace all, 97. Now we'll get rid of the space here. Replace all. And you can see that just by doing that stuff, this already starts to look a lot better, right? Oh, look, now what we want to do is we've kind of done a lot of this, right? So now we want to spot check, and these are really short lists. So coming through here, and we can see that there was a weird comma, right? And then we just want to delete. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but you can see like we want to make sure we take the extra time to clean up these lists so they don't appear spammy. Once we've decided that we're done, you're going to come back here and then finally replace what you started. If you do just that, you are way ahead of the game. But we're going to take this one step further. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to target the name itself. Most outreach tools do not use a contact name like this. What they use is first name. So they have a first name, oops, and a last name. And that makes sense, right? The reason for this is sometimes you want to do Mr. or Mrs. or Dr. last name. You might want to do, hey, Michelle, or hey, Judy. So it allows you more flexibility than if you could do this, because nobody would say, hey, Tim Cooley, I'd love to introduce you to my company. That just feels very weird to be, hey, Mr. Cooley, or hey, Tim, you know, whatever that thing's going to be. So the quickest way to do this, and this takes a little bit of work, and I'll show you the workaround here, is to take this column, and it will override these things. Not a big deal. We'll add them back later. And we're going to go text to column, delimited, and Google Sheets has this as well. And then we're going to use space and then hit next and then just finish. Okay. Basically what that does is anywhere there's a space, put it into a new column. Well, if we quickly look at this, right? And some people would say, okay, great, I got first name and last name, I should be good. But look at Kent down here. So you have W. Well, W, if I said, hey, W period, that would look really, really weird, right? We can agree on that. So what you need to do is go through here and then just clean this up. It does take a little bit. Use your best judgment. If you get it wrong, you get it wrong. It's not that big of a deal. Maybe you just lose that one contact, but try your best to really figure out what the person's first and last name is. And so people who do this a lot are used to getting their name messed up. So try to avoid that. And here's a really good example of something that we can't predict. So Gomez del Campo, right? You want to just fix that. And now you've got the first and last name. And I'm not going to go through the whole list, but you can see, and we can delete this. And we'll delete the company. And then we'll come and change this. So first name and last name. And now this is a much better, cleaner list for uploading. If you want to take this a step further, you could add a new category next to state. And then you could do like full state, right? If you're using it as a zip code, that's great. But this would be like Wisconsin, right? But what you do here, Arizona. What this does is like, hey, I'm looking for investors in Arizona. There are ways to do this, speed this up, but for the most part, you're just gonna have to add them. And when you do this, again, it adds that extra element, like I'm looking for investors in Arizona who are in this category, blah, 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 blah. And it really ties you in with that outreach message. So I hope this is helpful. I highly recommend spend as much time as it takes to make sure that your lists are clean. And if you're looking for a list to start with, we have a way of doing that. Reach out to us and we'll get you set up that way. All right. Thank you.